Hey folks, welcome back to WarThunder. Today is a video less about combat with other players and more about how to employ the F-100's more versatile loadouts. So we're taking the Hydras and we're going to go and shoot some pillboxes. So on the map to the west of our current position there's a ground battle going on, which is full of medium tanks, pillboxes and howitzers, with a few dotted around AAA emplacements. This is going to be an entirely uncut takeoff to landing video, and I'm just going to comment on how the plane flies. Well, you know, I'm just running you through my thoughts on the whole process pretty much. So to get off the runway I've been holding the throttle on the brakes. The brakes on this thing are much better than the current top tier jets. I say current, this is now current, but you know what I mean, the old top tier jets. You can actually hold this thing on the afterburner. If you hold the brakes on it won't move at all, which is a huge improvement over the last thing. So what I tend to do is hold it at like 90% or so until the engine temperature gets above 600 degrees. Slam it into afterburner and let it roll. Rotate at like 170 miles an hour. Probably pull the stick back about a third of the way with takeoff flaps, and it just lifts off by itself. Give it a few seconds before you retract the gear and stuff, in case there's a bump in the runway and you end up smashing the bottom of your plane off or whatever. But yeah, so what's nice about having Hydras on this thing is that it can't carry as many as the FJ4B, but this thing is so much more powerful that the drag that the pods add is less of a problem, because even with the rockets on and even with the caps of the rockets off, you can still push 700 miles an hour on the deck, which is faster than everything other than the MiG-19. So that's the only thing you really have to fear. The thing is, whilst you're actually doing your ground strike, obviously that involves a lot of 180 degree turns to come in and just swipe attack shit, and you bleed energy really fast to a horrific degree whenever you do harsh turns in this thing. So if anyone does come to try and take you down whilst you are rocket loading and dealing with shit on the ground, you're going to be hard pressed to shake them off. And if you're just out of a turn, then you probably won't have the time to gain your acceleration and your speed back up to get the separation from them, especially if they're coming in from a dive. So although I'm doing this solo and it works out for me pretty well, I'd recommend asking your team for cover or having a buddy with you in future if you'd want to try this for yourself, just so you've got something to watch your 6 and to help shake a 6 off if you should get one. So we're at the target area now and we're going to roll in. I'm not sure what the accuracy is going to be like on the Hydras in this thing, because the crew slot that I put this in is kind of crap. I should have really thought better about it, but I wanted to keep my lineup options open. So they're not really rendered in yet, but I'm just looking for tracer fire, pinpoint the location of tracers, spot a pillbox here, and I'm just going to fire a volley off. I think the third set did him in, so the second two were probably a bit wasteful, but making minor adjustments at this sort of speed isn't wise at all, because you know, if you ever get that feeling when you're a bit greedy and you're just like, oh well, I really just want to kill this one thing so that I save the effort of going around. Don't think like that. You've got to just, if you miss, then you miss, go around, do it again. It's not worth trying to adjust and line up at the last second, because you're just risking hitting a tree. It's quite difficult to aim precisely with this plane. I've messed around with the non-linearity, the multiplier, and I've even added a very small amount of dead zone to the controls, because if you move the stick at all in a pitch sort of direction, so up or down, mostly up. I don't really go negative pitch very often, but if you touch it at all, then it just sort of jerks. The first initial pull up is just really jerky, like even if it's just a tap, you just can't smoothly go over anything. You've got to just jerk above it and let it naturally fall back down. It's quite annoying, and that's with trim and everything. I just can't get it to feel smooth at all. That's my biggest gripe with the plane, I think. The other thing is that it tends to over-roll. If you go full left stick and you let go when it's 90 degrees perpendicular to the ground, it will probably end up doing another quarter roll on its own before you stop it. So if you wanna have precise rolls, then you'll have to actually you'll have to turn the stick the opposite way to stop it from over rolling, and it just makes the plane feel a lot less precise. I have used this in sim ground battles a few times with bullpups, and I did manage to get kills. It's just as easy as it is in the FJ4B. Just point the pipper at the target and it's bang on accurate. Guide it in if you need to. But it can only carry 2 of them, which is a huge fucking bummer in my opinion. And I haven't unlocked all of the bomb options yet. So I think it is possible to carry 2 bullpups and then like 4 750 bombs, maybe. It might be 4 500s, but I just prefer to use rockets than bombs. I'm really bad at using bombs. See there, I missed that, and you see how quickly it jerked when I pulled back on the stick. So there's some AI attackers now over the ground battle, and I've got 2 friendly B-57s here with me. I don't really need to shoot these things down because I don't think they're going to be much of a threat to me, but it's extra points, and right now I'm still trying to spade the performance mods. I've actually completed them since this video recorded, but it doesn't hurt to get some gun practice in. I feel as though these guns are far more effective at longer range than any other gun in the game, but the lead can be really difficult to judge. I said the same in the last video about the missiles, but if it comes to getting a guns kill, sometimes you feel like you don't need to lead at all, and other times you feel like you have to lead a stupid amount, and it's quite difficult to judge. So until I get used to it, I'm just going to spray stuff. It's also worth noting that these cannons have enough recoil that they will pull the nose of the plane down. So if you're going to fire a long ass burst at something, aim above it and let the cannons walk the shots downwards for you. Kind of hate wasting rockets on a howitzer, but I didn't want to risk it being a pillbox if I went for guns, because the closure rates, because I have to keep the speed up so much. If I was using a Fury right now, I'd probably do all of this at around 300 miles an hour, but I'm trying to keep above that at minimum at all times, which means that most of the time when I'm on a dive back in, I end up at like 500 miles an hour, and I don't really have that much time to adjust. Although I think it might be now that I get a really nice double strike. Yeah, fucking love it when it just lines up perfectly and you actually hit the target. Normally you sort of fumble and you get a bit flustered because you want to do it so much that it makes you worry, and then you don't. It's kind of like my experience with hand grenades in airsoft, because they're basically fireworks. If you don't throw them before the fuse goes off, then you run the risk of doing some quite severe damage to your hand, and that time limit just makes me throw them like complete arse, so I tend not to use them all. Excuse me. So right, we've used up all of our rockets. Need to head back east to the runway that we took off from. Gonna egress out on full afterburner. I've got fuel to burn. I should have really taken a lot less fuel, but I'm used to flying with the missiles and having to just hunt stuff down for like ages before I can actually use them. I think if I do another rocket run, I'll probably limit the fuel to like half an hour or less. But in full afterburner, you will burn through an hour's worth of fuel in probably like 10 minutes if you afterburn the entire time. And you can afterburn the entire time. I think I've only ever overheated the engine once. And that was flying on one of the hotter, like, deserty looking maps. I can't remember now. I just saw a speck in the mirror, and I can't see anything actually behind me, so for the entire flight back I keep checking my 6, and I mean I should be doing that anyway. Bailed on that bridge thing at the last second. Still not 100% comfortable with this thing. But yeah, I should probably check my 6 anyway, but that speck in the mirror just really made me paranoid. The F-100 has honestly quite terrible rearward visibility because the pilot's seat is so massive, and I do have keys bound to move my actual head to like left and right, up and down and everything, but you just can't look around it enough. You have to turn to be able to see behind you, and it just makes you quite susceptible to being killed by missiles. It hasn't happened to me many times because it seems very few people have the MiG-19, or at least very few sim pilots have the MiG-19. And so, given that that's the only thing that fires missiles apart from the Javelin, which is most often on your team if there's even any of them at all, because who the fuck would grind that bag of shit right now? I'm not even going to start the grind until they fix it. But anyway, yeah. So biggest threat to you is the MiG-19 with its missiles, because if they are directly behind you in that blind spot and they fire, you have no warning that there's a missile coming, because Sim doesn't give you that little pop-up thing on the screen, and you won't see it, and it will just end you. And I've died in that way like 2 or 3 times when playing operations games in Sim, which seems to be the only place that people bring out the MiG-19 in significant numbers. Okay, so landing this thing is different to landing other stuff, because your stall speed is much higher. I tend, also because the brakes are so much better, I tend to actually come in at around 200 miles an hour. I'm not sure what that is in kilometers per hour, but it's probably around 350, that would be my guess. Which is fast, isn't it? Like 200 miles an hour. Normally I would touch down at about 120. So this thing, I'm sure I think the stall speed's probably around 160 with landing flaps down, but I just don't, it's not worth the risk when this thing has a 25-minute cooldown and you need 400 spawn points to bring it in. So also you have to slow down early because it takes a while. The air brakes are good at taking you from like transonic speeds to sort of ordinary high speeds, but they're kind of shit for actually slowing you down properly fast for a landing. So you've really got to come off the throttle a long way out and pull some crazy hard maneuvers to actually slow yourself down. But when it comes to touchdown, it's no different from anything else, you know, just flare at the end. Once you're on the ground, I usually raise the flaps. I'm not sure if this is modelled in game, but my argument is that less lift means more ground force, or downforce even, and so the brakes will work better. Hard to tell if it's modelled in game or not. But there's the landing. I think we got 7 ground targets and 1 AI plane. But thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.